Hey YouTube people, today we're going to talk a little bit about our philosophy on the placebo effect. This was originally her question, but I figured it would be fun to talk about it on camera.
Yeah. So basically what I was thinking was, and I haven't done very much research on this at all, but the placebo effect, if you don't already know, is where, let's say in a drug trial, they will give a control group just a sugar pill that doesn't actually have any of the active chemical in it, and the idea is to see if that group still gets the effects that the chemical group does, because that'll show that the chemical doesn't necessarily do anything. It's just the idea.
The expectation.
The expectation that you're taking something that will make you better.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of cases, it works. The placebo works. So my question is basically, does it matter at all whether, like, if you're trying to cure yourself of something, if you're trying to solve a problem, does it matter if the solution is just a placebo? No. Well, just for example, let's take like a diet scenario where you are trying to lose weight or you're trying to get healthy, and for whatever reason it's becoming really difficult for you, and you hear that this pill will help your metabolism go faster, and you'll burn energy more quickly, and you'll feel better, and you'll want to do this more, or it'll reduce your appetite so that you'll be able to lose weight more quickly. And aside from the ethical issues of big business and the fact that they're taking advantage of people, if that works for you, if the whatever that pill is, maybe it's just a caffeine pill or something, which caffeine actually does reduce your appetite in most cases, but if it's just a sugar pill, fiber, or something like that, and it doesn't necessarily scientifically actually solve your problem or do what it's supposed to do, what it says it's supposed to do, does it matter? Because it works. For you.
Yeah, speaking of that, you should let us know in the comments what your opinion is on remedies, homeopathy remedies, because I've tried them before, and I didn't have any expectation of what they're supposed to do, but I had a definite effect from it, an effect that I didn't realize ahead of time.
It was interesting because we did an experiment on, this is a whole other topic, but we kind of did an experiment where because his homeopathic doctor sent him this medication but didn't tell him what it was supposed to do. I read up on it and I looked up what the things that it was supposed to do for you were.
Expected
outcomes. And I read through them, didn't tell him anything, didn't tell him anything about it, and he actually had several of the expected outcomes happen.
Yeah, came back and told her what I experienced without any expectation or knowledge of it, and she said that matched pretty well.
Yeah,
what happened.
It was almost exactly. Like, the first thing he experienced was on point, like what that thing was supposed to do. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I have no grasp of how homeopathy is supposed to work. The remedies are supposed to work.
Yeah.
The principle that they work on, just the whole thing on the more diluted the medication is, the more powerful the effect. Makes no scientific sense, but I could swear it had a substantial physical impact. Not something that I could have predicted.
Yeah, but that wouldn't really be an example of a placebo effect because you had no idea what it was supposed to do for you.
Right.
You knew kind of what you had talked to your doctor about, all of your issues that you were having, but it didn't fix all of them. It just fixed a couple really point ones for a while.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I brought it up because I figured it's worth mentioning, since I feel like the majority of people, at least the majority of people that are into Western medicine, think that the whole homeopathy and remedy thing is total bullshit, total placebo effect.
Yeah.
Because there's no like scientific explanation for it. Even the homeopathic doctors have no explanation for it. Yeah. They just say, trust me. And I trust no one until they can show me why they say trust me.
But even if it were a placebo effect, if it works for you, this is the underlying question, if it works for you and you're not trying to get anybody else to do something and not go to a regular doctor, or if you're not trying to convince anybody of anything and tell them what they should do, if it works for you, does any of that matter? And ethically, does it matter if a company is making bank off of placebos? Placebos can be really powerful. Basically, what they're selling would be, the belief in something. They're selling the outcome, regardless of how it happens, whether it's scientifically based that chemical actually does that thing, or whether they're just selling freedom from your own mind.
Freedom from worry.
Yeah.
Whether there's physical impact or not.
Does it matter? I would love somebody to convince me of something to fix all my problems. To tell me that if I could believe in things
that without
scientific basis, which is something I have a really hard time doing. Like, I don't believe in anything that doesn't have a scientific basis, basically. But if I could convince myself that this little pill, somebody told me this will 100% solve all of your problems.
You expect it to be true.
Or a specific problem. And I believed them, and I took it, and it worked. That's just helping you overcome the power of your own mind.
It's a little bit like therapy.
Yeah. I mean, isn't, like, the thing that holds us the most back in life, I would say, is ourselves.
Yeah.
Our own minds get in these cycles of belief that you don't even realize you're doing to yourself. And you can't get out of them because your belief is your belief, and that's really hard to change.
Yeah.
And if you think that something is horribly wrong...
Yeah.
And you can just take a pill or whatever. There's a lot of other examples of placebo effect other than just a pill, but that's what's coming to my mind right now. That's the most common.
Here's another aspect of it. What do you think about placebo effect on animals? Because that seems to be a factual thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a proven thing. And I was hearing about this on SciShow, and they were talking about how it's definitely a real thing.
We should link that below.
Yeah, definitely credit to SciShow for this.
Yeah.
They were talking about how placebo effect works for animals as well, and they were saying that probably a key component to that is the placebo effect on the owners of the animals and misreporting.
Oh.
As in like if you give a placebo to your dog and you're like, I expect this to make the animal better.
Yeah.
And then you're expecting that, so then you report that your dog or whatever is feeling better for whatever reason.
Were the owners not in on it? The owners didn't know that it was a placebo?
I don't recall. I'd have to look at the original video.
Because what if, I mean, even in the case where the owners didn't know that it was a placebo, this would also still work. Animals are very in tune to their owners'
expectations.
Concern. So if you are really concerned about your dog and you think that they're sick, they're going to feed off that anxiety and get even more anxious and even sicker.
Yeah.
Is what I've heard and what I've looked up.
Yeah.
But if you calm down and you relax and you feel like everything's okay,
a lot of the time things are going to be improving.
Yeah, a lot of the time your animal will feel that too and will get more relaxed and will get a little bit better. So, yeah. I mean, that could also be it.
It's all placebo effect between owner and pet.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, but it's hard to tell like which way it would be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little story from my childhood. So my childhood dog had this big old infection on its head that we tried for a very long period to treat the traditional route with antibiotics and all kinds of like traditional medication from the vet. And distinctly recalled that we eventually tried some remedy, and that actually fixed it really fast.
He means
homeopathic remedies.
Remedy.
Yeah, little things known as sugar pearls.
Yeah.
Sugar pills. But yeah, like that definitely seemed like a significant physical effect.
Yeah.
And he had it for a long time, and it changed quickly within like a week. These significant infections, whereas like fur was falling off and he was bleeding within like a week or so, week and a half.
Wow.
It was, yeah. I recall it was a pretty dramatic fix, and unless I'm totally misremembering it, but I think it was a pretty substantial effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of crazy. There's so much debate about whether homeopathy is I guess real or valid.
Yeah, has any medical validity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm still on the fence. I've heard a lot of like personal stories, not just that I've looked up online, but actually people who I know, including you, who have had some kind of effect from these remedies, and I don't know what to believe, because it doesn't seem like, and the way that they talk about it.
The doctors?
Yeah, the doctors. The way that they're so into it, it seems like I don't even know what to call it.
Some kind of cult more than...
That's kind of what I was going to say. But
kind of a cult, not medicine.
I didn't want to, but they just... It's so vague, and they don't want you to know anything about it. It's like, don't ask questions. Just take this pill. It'll be fine.
Trust me.
Just trust in me. And it seems really, like, red flag type thing. Like, you don't... I've heard... When you were on the phone with that guy... The homeopathic doctor that you were talking to on the phone.
Texting or?
You were on the phone with him.
Oh, yeah.
Or Skype, I guess.
Yeah.
Some kind of video call, some kind of voice call. I was listening to it because I could hear both sides. And the way he was talking, it just was so ridiculous. It did not seem like it could possibly be real. I feel like it sounded like he was just trying to convince you of the idea that it would work. But I mean, I understand from the perspective of they say that they don't want to sway you, they don't want to cause a placebo effect reaction by telling you what it does, which that makes sense to a certain extent. But also, like, I don't know, the way they talk about it is ridiculous.
Yeah, and I gave him a straight up question, or a point blank question. You know, can you explain to me how remedies work?
Right.
And
Which that wouldn't cause a placebo effect reaction. That would just help you believe in the system.
Yeah. And his only answer was, you have to trust me on this.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, ugh, I roll.
But then it worked.
Well, it didn't. It worked for one component.
But it did something.
It did something for a while.
It sure seems like it did something.
Yeah.
Which if it doesn't make sense and it's all a hoax like we said, or like we think, then it wouldn't have done anything.
But I feel like if you're a practitioner, you should very well be able to explain how what you do works.
You would think.
Unless it's literally unexplainable, which even then I feel like you'd be able to explain
why it's unexplainable.
Yeah.
You'd be able to explain it up to a certain point and then be like, and then we just don't know. And just say that. Like, it works and we don't know how. Like, that's what they say about IUDs. They're like, it just, I mean, that's literally what my doctor said one time. So I was like, why does this little piece of plastic that you can put in your uterus, why does this work? Or this piece of copper. Like, you know that copper is a spirincide, and the little plastic ones, they have a little bit of progesterone in them, but
You can get us demonetized in this.
You can talk about birth control.
Oh, I thought you weren't allowed to talk about sexually based topics, but maybe. I don't know.
You can talk about birth control.
Oh, okay. That's good.
SciShow has an episode that is monetized on birth control.
Alright, cool.
Okay?
Alright, I'll take your word on this, dude.
It's educational. We're not showing anything. We're not talking about anything in graphic detail. You can say the word uterus on YouTube.
And I'm new to this.
Okay, anyway, so IUDs, they don't know how they work in general. They know to a certain extent that I don't even know who the heck came up with that idea. Let's just shove this little piece of metal in your uterus and see what happens. I don't know.
Don't get me started, but they're great.
I don't know. If I'm wrong, tell me. If you know how an IUD works, Tell me. Back it up with some sources. I gotta know. I really want to know how this works. I've been looking it up for so long and I can't find anything. All of my doctors all tell me that no one knows how it works. Anyway.
As my old instructor said, it's FM. It's fucking magic.
Maybe it's a placebo. It's just a placebo. You put a little thing up there, your brain tells your uterus to stop.
You're all good to go.
Yep.
Sure.
I don't know. Anyway.
Back on topic.
I'm hoping that people in the comments will have a conversation about this with us because I am so fascinated by the power of our own minds and placebos and stuff, and drop me links for other videos I can watch. I've been watching several, but yeah. I want to know, ethically, does it matter? Does it matter at all if it works for you?
I think it probably matters to some extent because I tend to think that placebo is probably less. Like, real medication obviously has the effect of placebo plus scientific.
Yeah.
Actually works.
Well, that's the thing. Like.
But if it's just placebo, then I think it only works on people who expect it to work.
Right.
Regardless of,
Right. But I'm saying on an individual by individual basis.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if the placebo effect, if it's just placebo and you don't seek treatment in ways that are effective for someone who is not significantly affected by the placebo effect. Like, for someone like me who doesn't, who's not a fan of traditional medicine in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Who really expect very little help from most people. Then it wouldn't work, and I feel like it would work for me either. And I feel like a science, something actually scientifically proven with blind trials, plus placebo effect would be more effective than just placebo, especially on someone who doesn't believe in it.
But here's the thing: for someone who the placebo effect works for them 100% to solve their issue, they didn't need that medication in the first place. Why would we want to introduce that chemical into their body and cause all of these side effects when they didn't need it? All they needed was to get past their own mental block.
Sure.
What if your doctor, like with any medication, you go to your doctor, you get the thing, you fill it, you take it for a while, you come back and you check in with them. If it's not working, they switch it up anyway. So if it didn't work, then they would switch you to something that has some kind of, I don't know. I feel like placebo should be used more in traditional medicine.
Yeah.
Just to see, And then what if your doctor, when you came to check in, you're like, oh my gosh, this is working magically, it's amazing. What if he told you, I gave you sugar pills? Mm-hmm. What you're experiencing is a mental block. It's an issue that you think you have, and I just proved it to you, like lovingly, gently tell you this, and then you can actually go ahead to solve your problems.
Therapy or something.
Yeah, instead of putting all of these chemicals in your body. As a first step for certain things, not for everything.
Well, sure.
Obviously, it's not going to work for everyone, and obviously it's not going to work in every situation and for every disease. I'm not saying that if you have cancer, you should take a placebo and see if it helps you.
Well, I think that's the main complaint that your average person has with placebos is that people do it. People do like homeopathy, which is known as placebo for the most part. We'll do that in lieu of something that's actually proven and consistent with the majority of people.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're not doing it to your detriment and you're willing to explore all of the possible avenues, if you're going...
Like in my case, where there's not really any harm in waiting to see if it helps with pain.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not... And this might be kind of controversial, too, but I feel like it could help as a first step in mental health cases, like mild mental health cases where like depression, anxiety.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, and this is something my therapist told me before I started taking this medication, was, and it was a fast-acting anti-anxiety pill. She said, keep this in your purse. You'll probably never have to use it, because just the idea of having it there for you and having it available if you need it is comforting enough to probably you'll never have to use it. And I only used it a couple of times. My anxiety attacks went down significantly once I had that in my purse.
Yeah.
It's true, because just like
Having
comfort blankets are really important.
Having a plan is massively helpful to your psychological health.
Yeah, and just like if that was kind of a first step in a therapy situation where they could see if it would work, and I don't know, just like if you think you have something that is supposed to help you, in a lot of cases, it can. And then you don't have to have, I've had so many side effects from medications.
Yeah, haven't we all?
And I do feel like the issues I was having, especially the like mental health medications I was taking, had really bad side effects. My depression medication made me gain a lot of weight, and just also I feel like it kind of changed my brain. And if I could have taken something else, just a sugar pill, I do feel like that would have helped me at that time in my life. Anyway.
Any more thoughts?
Nope, I think we're pretty much done.
We're wrapped up?
Yep.
Okay.
Well.
See you next time, YouTube people.
Let us know in the comments what you think of placebo effect.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
If you want more, like and subscribe and all that jazz.
Would you appreciate having a placebo used on you? Would you want to know afterward, after a certain amount of time,
that you've been duped?
That's what happened? Do you feel like that would help, or would you want to just continue taking the placebo?
Yeah. Yeah.
The questions of life. The questions of complicated societal life.
Yeah.
The fact that we've gotten to the point where we have placebo, like knowledge on placebos, and can have the option of having a medication or a placebo. It's fascinating.
And why does it feel so frustrating to know that someone has fooled you to your benefit?
Is it?
It kind of makes me upset to know that someone has tricked me, even if it's helpful.
Only for a minute, though, right?
Yeah, only for a minute.
Just because you feel stupid. I feel like it's just because you realize that your brain is
dumber than you thought.
Yeah.
Like, oh, come on, brain.
Yeah, you're like, well, I didn't realize my own brain had this much power over me. I thought I had power over my own mind, but I don't.
Fat chance.
Well, I think that's why it's frustrating.
It's true.
But I feel like it's always good to learn from. It's good to know.
Yep. It's
good to know that you can be tricked so that you can protect yourself from that in the future, too.
To know how gullible you are regardless of what you think.
Yep. All right, this has gone on long enough.